neat, don't you think? Like, oh, this next guy's about to order a $5 footlong. I think it could work well with the ladies too. Oh, she stepped outside, but hey, Eliza, this next guy's willing to max out his credit cards on you, and he's cool with being just friends. Yes, speaking of the ladies, anyone here been on a date recently? Exactly my point. Dating's pretty crazy these days. I've been talking to some of my friends, and we've decided that dating in LA, though, it's like this epicenter of debauchery. And the conclusion that I've come to is that dating in LA is like playing in the ball pit at a Chuck E. Cheese. It's a lot of fun for a while, and then you realize you're in this shallow pit of plastic surrounded by children who are playing pretend. Where you're probably going to catch a disease. STDs are the worst, aren't they? No one wants to catch an STD. Because think about this, if you catch an STD, you now have a lifelong reminder as to why you don't go drinking on a Wednesday afternoon in Hermosa Beach. Anyone been down to the South Bay? Here's what they need to do. They need to rename every bar on Pier Avenue after an STD so you know what you're getting before you walk in the door. Does anyone here know what the worst STD is? We'll take suggestions from the audience.
Herpes.
No, sir, who spent time at the free clinic. It's not herpes. And it's not AIDS. It's pregnancy. Because let's think about this for a second. If you're out on a date with someone and things are going well over smoothies, and they're like, hey, you know, I'd love to share my smoothie with you, but I can't. I have the gift that keeps on giving. I have herpes. What's going to happen? You're going to go on a shopping spree at Walgreens. Think about that one for a second. But if you're out with someone one night, and after dinner and drinks and ice cream and conversation, you get to that wonderfully awkward moment at the end of the evening. It's like, hey, do you want to come in for a second? I've got like a DVD we could watch, or I don't know. And the person you're with is like, yeah, you know, I'd love to, but I only have the sitter for my 3-year-old until 10 o'clock. What's going to happen? You're going to dump that person the next day by text message. No one here has dumped anyone by text message? Jody Miller, you dumped anyone by text message? She's not in here either. Anyways, the only thing I can think of worse than getting dumped by text message is having your heart broken. Have you ever had their heart broken before?
Yeah.
Yes. It's the worst. I've had my heart broken. It was like one of the worst experiences of my entire life. But from it, I learned a valuable lesson, and I want to share that with you guys this evening. The lesson is this: the best remedy for a heartbreak is not going out and doing Patron shots until you black out and throw up in a dumpster behind an El Pollo Loco. Been there. And it's not responding yes to that first late night text you get that says, want to watch a movie from the creeper 5 seconds after you change your Facebook status from in a relationship to single. It's the family value meal of Popeye's chicken. Now some of you are chuckling and looking at me like I'm crazy. Let me explain. Eating Popeye's chicken is good for 2 things: extreme physical pain and fear. Every time I've had Popeye's chicken, I've wound up in such agony that I can barely remember my own name, let alone feel any emotions. In fact, the last time I had Popeyes, it got so bad that... No, you know what? I'm not going to tell you guys that story. It's too bad. All I'll say is this. I am now one of the few people who is not a homeless person who has been banned from a certain Shell station bathroom. And as far as the fear is concerned, I need to tell you guys a little story about myself. The night I was excused, as I like to put it, because I refused to admit that I was dumped, I was in pretty bad shape. I was in my bed just crying. This went on for like 2 hours. Then finally I thought to myself, you know, Matt, you gotta do something to get your mind off things. And usually, I'll eat away my problems like none other. But given how crazy I was about this girl, I knew that my usual Haagen-Dazs and Funyuns extravaganza wasn't gonna get the job done. And remembering back to the manager screaming at me at the Shell station on Fairfax and Olympic, I decided Popeyes was gonna be the way to go. So I just moved to a new part of town. I wasn't really sure where anything was. And so I hopped on Google to find the closest Popeyes. And Google confirmed for me something that I already knew. And that is this. I was about to take a trip to the numbered streets. Now again, some of you laugh and some of you need an explanation. Here it is. No matter what part of the country you're in, no matter what neighborhood you're in, it could be black, white, purple, Asian, Hispanic, somewhere between 23rd and 172nd in the bad part of town, you will find a Popeye's chicken. So late at night, I hop in my car, got the directions, I take off. I get through the 80s and 90s, no problem. And then at 113th Street, I get caught at a red light. And just as I pull up to a complete stop, all of a sudden our song starts playing on my iPod through the car speakers. And I'll be honest, I'm an emotional guy, I got a little choked up. So a few seconds into the song, up next to me pulls an Escalade filled with dudes who look like they're from the opening scene of an episode of Cops. Whoa, that was ominous. And they see who I am, and they see what I'm driving, and all of a sudden they just look at me and they start screaming, "Where you from, blood? Who you repping, Crip? How's it going down?" I don't know what this means. I certainly don't know what to say. And now, between the chorus of "I Want It That Way," and the fact that I've seen enough Spike Lee movies to know I'm about to get robbed, all I can manage to get out is like, So this goes on for a few minutes, when all of a sudden one of them hops out of the Escalade, comes over, taps on my window, and as he's reaching into his waistband, he says to me, "You better say something, dog!" I don't know how I did this. Somehow through the crying and the extreme fear, I was managed to get out. "She broke my heart." And he looked at me, he just started shaking his head. He was getting madder by the second. And in an instant, he pulled his hand out of his waist, and there was nothing in there, and all he did was point. And he leaned in a little closer, and he said to me, "2 blocks up on 115th Street, there's a Popeye's Chicken." Comedy Store, thank you so much. It's been a dream come true.